Iran in the passage of history. Why are we here today? What should we do? Civilization started with stagnant farming. Sources on ancient Iran include the Shahnameh, the Old Testament, Greek historians, and archaeological evidence. The Shahnameh is a mixture of history and folklore written by Persian poet and writer Ferdowsi. Ferdowsi kept the language of Farsi alive by writing the Shahnameh. The Old Testament had high praise for Cyrus and Iran, bringing him to the level of Messiah. Cyrus the Great took over Babylon and freed the Jews from captivity and slavery. Greek historians. History. Written by the rivals and enemies. Archaeological evidence is the most reliable form of evidence. The oldest Persian civilizations go back over 5,000 years. The Iranians were living in three different parts: Medes, Persians, and Parthians. The Median kings were Deoses, Phraortes, Cyaxares, and Astyages. The empire was ended by Cyrus the Great. Cyrus the Great reigned from 559 BC to 530 BC. The Cyrus Cylinder is the first human rights charter adopted by the UN. Here is a list of the Achaemenian kings. The empire was ended by Alexander. There are 46 Parthian kings, starting with Arsaces I, who ruled from 250 BC to 211 BC, and ending with Artabanus V, who ruled from 213 AD to 224 AD. The empire was ended by Ardashir I. There are 40 Sassanid kings, starting with Ardashir I from 224 AD to 242 AD, and ending with Yazdegerd III from 632 AD to 651 AD. The empire was ended by Muslim Arabs. Iran geopolitically is located between the Caspian Sea and the Persian Gulf, so it became the path for trade, art, and science between Asia and Europe. It also was the path for warlords and conquerors like Alexander and Genghis Khan. Here are some examples of Iranian religions before Islam, including Mithraism during the Parthians and Zoroastrianism during the Achaemenians and Sassanids. There was little to no slavery before Islam in Iran. Persepolis was built with paid labor, including maternal leave. The Arab-Muslim invasion of Iran took place between 632 AD and 654 AD. So, why did the Sassanid Empire collapse? It was primarily due to the strength of the clergy, internal power struggles, and Roman-Persian wars. Arabs destroyed libraries and books, creating a gap between ancient Iran and post-Islam Iran. Iranian resistance after Arab invasion includes Abu Muslim Khurasani, Babak Khorramdin, and Yaqub Layth Safari. There was mass conversion to Islam by force. The Islamic Golden Age took place between the 8th and 14th century. Most of the philosophers, artists, scientists, and mathematicians were Iranian. Iran was invaded by Mongolian conquerors like Genghis Khan, Timur, and Hulagu Khan. Eventually, they were integrated and infatuated with Iranian society and culture. They also promoted Islam. Art flourished during the Safavid dynasty from 1501 to 1736. Before the Safavid, 70% of Iranians were Sunnis. Safavid kings changed the dominant religious group to Shia by force. They didn't have enough Shiite mullahs, so they imported them from places like Lebanon. As a result, mullahs became more powerful and had more influence in the country and in politics. To benefit from people's ignorance, the mullahs encouraged superstitions and rituals. Mullahs caused the Safavid dynasty to fall, and the country fell into the hands of Mahmud and Hotek Afghans. Shah Sultan Hussein was superstitious and consulted with mullahs on issues of the kingdom. Nader Shah defeated and freed Iran from all the invaders and united Iran. No one knew if he was Shiite or Sunni, and he did not let the mullahs get involved in politics. Now, with the Qajar dynasty, which lasted from 1794 to 1925, in the Iran-Russian wars, a lot of land was lost to Russia. The constitutional revolution also began. There was the beginning of the Babi and Baha'i faith. There was the influence of Russia and England, as well as the influence of mullahs. There was the separation of Afghanistan from Iran. Lastly, there was more cultural contact with the West. In the Iran-Russia wars, mullahs caused big loss of land to Russia, 1804 to 1813, 1826 to 1828. Mullahs encouraged and forced Fath Ali Shah Qajar to fight Russia as holy wars. As a result, Iran was defeated and forced to sign devastating treaties. Art improved during the Qajar dynasty. Qajar art is some of the most sought after in the world. The art is a continuation of the strong Safavid era. Pahlavi dynasty, time to modernize. Reza Shah made great progress in just 16 years. Mohammad Reza Shah continued his father's path to strengthen Iran. The superpowers of the world were not happy with this. The West planned to overthrow the Shah because the Shah raised the price of oil. Iran had the fifth strongest army in the world. 80% of the oil in the world was going through the Strait of Hormuz, which was feared to be controlled by the Shah. The Shah refused to eradicate the communists. Soviet Union was a threat, so a religious regime could be a good solution. Because the Shah was betrayed by some of the nationalists who should have been naturally his alliance, he gave more power to the mullahs out of fear of the communists. The reforms of Iran were too fast for the religious part of the population. They could not stand an independent and powerful Iran. Job done. The West brought Khomeini in. There was a cover-up by saying death to America. These are pictures of foreign intelligence operatives. What happened next? The price of oil went down. The control was back in the hands of the Western oil companies. The army of the Shah was destroyed by the war with Iraq. There was a relative freedom for the first year after the revolution to identify all the communists and leftist groups. They were subsequently executed by the Islamic regime and destroyed. The flow of oil from the Strait of Hormuz was guaranteed. By having the Islamic Republic as a new enemy, the West, especially the arms manufacturers, made a lot of money from the Arab countries in the region. Iran lost the opportunity to compete on the international market. Iran's resources were exploited and the money ended up in the European, American, Canadian banks. The British have been trying to put Iran down. Why? Iran is the crossroad of all civilizations. Iran has traditionally been a world force. The Iranian civilization covers many countries in the region. Democratic Iran would be an economic threat to the West and East. The suffix Istan means province or state in Persian, so countries like Afghanistan, Pakistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and also Armenia, Georgia, Iraq, and Azerbaijan belong to the greater Iranian culture. Plentiful resources like workforce, energy, and mines can be considered a threat to the West and East. However, whenever Iran was powerful, the whole world benefited. The British and Russians have always feared a strong Iran, and this is why the British changed the official language of Hindustan from Farsi to English. An internal conflict on all levels. Because Iranians became Muslims by force, they always had an internal conflict at the greater society, neighborhood, family, and even within the individual. Whenever the Iranian culture was dominant in the country, the society flourished. And whenever the Islamic culture was dominant, it was depressed. Passing the baton, it's our turn. Each generation has worked and kept Iran alive and passed it on to the next generation. It is our time to revitalize Iran. Cyrus, Darius, and Ardashir were not just the kings. Their success was a result of the whole country and its people. We have inherited this beautiful and rich culture and need to keep it alive. Let's keep the fire going on. We bend, but we don't break. The pine tree is one of the symbols of Iran, which can also be seen as the Paisley. It means Iran is resilient and can always bounce back. Divide and conquer, the alliance of the British and the mullahs. The British have always tried to keep Iran weak out of fear. Historically, they connected US civilization to Europe to Rome and ended at Greece. They never went further to show the original connection to Iran. Their policy has always been to divide and conquer. And mullahs have been a good alliance for this purpose. They work for the British up to this date. Unite, unite, unite. Since our enemies want us to divide, we need to counter that by uniting. Some actions we need to take include: 1. Put Iran at the forefront of your mind. 2. Spend at least 1 hour a week towards the betterment of Iran. 3. Start small networks to consult and implement actions. 4. Join the bigger network to share and communicate with the larger group. 5. Organic growth, expanding the network through only people you personally know and approve of. Do not underestimate the power of unity and networking. In order to unite, we need to become more selfless and respect one another. No one will help us. We are on our own. As great as Iranian history and culture is, it is only the tip of the iceberg. With all the ongoing discoveries and new research, we are learning more about its influence and impact on the world. The sun is rising on the future of Iran, and the better days are yet to come. Let's move towards a free and prosperous Iran.